My name is Anna. I am 26 years old. I live in a small town in the south of England. When I was young, I wanted a happy life. I wanted to get married. I wanted 1 or 2 children. I wanted a small house and a good man. I thought love was easy, but I was wrong. I met Daniel when I was 22. He was 25. He was tall. He had brown hair and blue eyes. He was funny. He smiled a lot. He liked to talk. We met at a friend's party. He asked for my number. I gave it to him. The next day he sent me a message. He asked, "Do you want to meet for coffee?" I said yes. We met in town. We talked for a long time. I liked him. After that, we saw each other many times. He made me laugh. He gave me flowers. He called me every night. After 3 months, I told him, "I love you." He said, "I love you too." I believed him. We were together for 1 year. I worked at a supermarket. Daniel worked at a car garage. We didn't have much money, but I was happy. Then something happened. One day I felt sick in the morning. I thought I had a cold, but the next day I felt sick again. My best friend Emma said, "Maybe you are pregnant." I said, "No, I don't think so." But I was not sure. I bought a test. I waited. The result came. I looked at it. My hands were shaking. I was pregnant. That night I went to Daniel's flat. I looked at him. I said, "I have news." He looked at me and asked, "What is it?" I said, "I am going to have a baby." He was quiet. He looked at the floor. He did not speak for a long time. Then he said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes. I did a test. I am sure." He stood up. He walked to the window. He looked outside. He did not look at me. "This is not a good time," he said. "I am not ready to be a father." I felt cold. I felt sick. I said, "But we love each other." He said nothing. He just said, "I need time to think." That night, he did not hold me. He did not kiss me. I could not sleep. In the morning, he left early. He said, "See you later." But I knew something was wrong. After that, everything changed. He stopped calling me. He stopped answering my messages. He didn't want to see me. One day I went to his flat. I knocked on the door. He did not open it. I sent him one last message. He replied, "I can't do this. I'm sorry." That was the last message from Daniel. I sat on my bed and cried. I cried for hours. I could not believe it. I was pregnant, and I was alone. I told my mom and dad. My mom cried with me. My dad said nothing. Then he said, "We are here for you, Anna." I moved back to my parents' house. I felt like a child, but I was not a child. I was going to be a mother. Every day I felt more tired. My belly grew. I went to the doctor. I saw my baby on the screen. I heard her heartbeat. I smiled and cried at the same time. I worked at the supermarket until the baby came. I bought small clothes and a baby bed. I wanted to be ready. Then one night, I had strong pain. My mom took me to the hospital. The nurse said, "You are going to have the baby tonight." I was scared. The pain was strong. I held my mom's hand. After many hours, I heard a small cry. The nurse said, "It's a girl." They gave her to me. She was small. She was soft and warm. I looked at her and smiled. I said, "Hello, baby. I'm your mom." I named her Sophie. She was beautiful. I stayed in the hospital for 2 days. Then I went home. My mom helped me with Sophie, but at night, it was just me and my baby. Sophie cried a lot. I was tired. I did not sleep much. I changed her diapers. I fed her. I held her when she cried. Sometimes I sat on the bed and cried too. I was very tired, but I looked at her small face. I kissed her head. I said, "I love you." Daniel never came. He never called. He did not ask about Sophie. One day, I saw him in town. He walked past me. He looked at me, then looked away. He said nothing. I wanted to shout. I wanted to ask him, "How can you leave your baby?" But I said nothing. I just looked down at Sophie in her stroller. When Sophie was 5 months old, I went back to work. My mom watched her when I worked. I missed Sophie every minute, but I needed the money. At work, I smiled. I said hello to the customers. I carried boxes. I stood on my feet for hours. When I got home, I was tired, but Sophie needed me. I cooked dinner. I cleaned. I fed Sophie. I bathed her. I put her to sleep. I never stopped. One night, Sophie was sleeping. I sat in the kitchen. I drank cold tea. I looked at the wall. My eyes felt heavy. I said to myself, "You are tired, Anna, but you are strong. You are doing this." And I smiled, because I was not just a woman now. I was a mother. Sophie grew fast. She smiled more each day. When she was 6 months old, she sat on her own. She played with her small toys. I watched her and smiled. Sometimes I cried too. I was proud of her. I was also tired. Every day was full. I worked, cleaned, and cared for her. But she gave me strength. I did not have many friends. My old friends did not visit much. They had busy lives. They went out in the evenings. They posted happy photos online. I stayed at home. I watched cartoons with Sophie. I sang to her when she cried. I told her, "You are not alone. I am here." Before I share the rest of my story, I want to ask you something. Where are you listening from? Sometimes I wonder if someone out there truly hears me. Someone who understands what I'm feeling. It gives me strength to know I'm not alone. So please, tell me in the comments. My mom helped me a lot. She held Sophie when I had a shower. She made dinner when I was too tired. My dad did not talk much, but he played with Sophie. He made her laugh. I was thankful for my parents. Without them, life would be harder. Sometimes I saw Daniel in town. He never said hello. He walked past like he didn't know me. One day, Sophie was in my arms. Daniel looked at us. He looked for 1 second, then walked away. I held Sophie closer. I kissed her head. I said in my heart, "You don't need him. I will give you everything." Money was a big problem. My job at the supermarket did not pay much. I bought only what we needed. I bought baby food, nappies, and warm clothes. I did not buy clothes for myself. I wore old jeans and simple shirts. I did not care about how I looked. I only cared about Sophie. At work, I was quiet. I did my job. I smiled at customers, but inside, I felt tired. My feet hurt. My back hurt. But I always said, "I am okay." When Sophie was sick, I stayed home. My boss was not happy. He said, "You can't miss so many days." I said, "My baby needs me." He said, "Be careful. You need this job." I felt scared. I did not want to lose the job. I needed it for Sophie. At home, Sophie started to stand. She held the side of the sofa and smiled. She looked proud. I clapped my hands and said, "Good job." She laughed. Her laugh made me happy. Her laugh made the house feel warm. One evening, Sophie had a fever. Her head was hot. She cried and would not eat. I called the doctor. He said, "It may be a virus. Keep her cool and give her water." I held her all night. I did not sleep. I was afraid. I sang soft songs. I said, "Please get better." In the morning, she still had a fever. My mom said, "Let's go to the clinic." We went. The nurse gave Sophie medicine. She said, "She will be okay." I felt better. I kissed Sophie's warm cheek. Sophie got stronger again. She started walking at 13 months. She fell many times, but she got up again. I clapped for her. She smiled with all her teeth. My heart felt full. I said, "You are so brave." Time passed. Sophie turned 2. She started to talk more. She said mama, ball, and milk. She liked to dance. She liked to play with socks and shoes. I laughed when she put her tiny foot in my big shoe. She looked so serious. One Sunday, I took her to the park. She ran on the grass. She saw other children. She waved at them. One boy gave her a toy car. She smiled. I sat on the bench and watched her. The sun was warm. I felt peace. Then I saw Daniel again. He was at the other end of the park. He was with another woman. She had red hair. They held hands. I looked away. I did not want Sophie to see him. She did not know him. He was her father, but he was not in her life. At night, I thought about that moment. I did not cry. I just sat on the bed and looked at the wall. I thought, he chose to walk away. I will not wait for him. I will not beg. I looked at Sophie. She was asleep. She looked safe and sweet. I whispered, "You have me." And that is enough. A few days later, I got a letter from the council. They said I could get a small flat. It was not big, but it was mine. I felt excited. I packed our things. My mom helped me. We put Sophie's toys in a box. We folded her clothes. My dad drove us to the new flat. The flat had 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and a small kitchen. The walls were white. The floor was clean. I put Sophie's bed near mine. I put a photo of us on the table. We ate dinner on the floor that night. We had toast and tea. Sophie laughed and dropped a spoon. I picked it up and smiled. I said, "This is our home now." In the new flat, life was hard but quiet. I worked. I took care of Sophie. I paid rent. I cooked simple meals. I read bedtime stories. Sophie liked books with animals. She liked the one with the blue bear. She said, "Bear is funny." I kissed her cheek and said, "You are funny too." Some nights I felt lonely. I missed talking to someone. I missed hugs. But I never missed Daniel. I did not want someone who left. I wanted peace. I wanted love that stayed. One day, at work, a woman came to my till. She had a baby in a stroller. She looked tired like me. She smiled and said, "It's hard, isn't it?" I smiled and said, "Yes, but they are worth it." She said, "You're doing a good job." Her words touched my heart. I went home that night and told Sophie, "You are my sunshine." She smiled and gave me a big hug. I was still tired. I was still poor. But I was not broken. I was strong. I was a mother. Sophie was now 3 years old. She could talk more. She asked many questions. She asked, "Why is the sky blue?" Or "Where do birds sleep?" I smiled and answered in simple words. She was smart. She liked to learn. She liked to sing and dance. Her laugh was my favorite sound. We had a small life. We lived in our little flat. We had a routine. I woke up early. I made breakfast. Sophie ate slowly. She always wanted one more spoon of yogurt. I took her to the daycare near our home. Then I went to work. Every day was the same, but I didn't mind. I had peace. I had my child. I had a reason to wake up. At night, Sophie sat on my lap. I read her stories. She always asked for the same book, the one about the red bus. She said, "The bus goes beep beep." I laughed. I kissed her and said, "Sleep now, baby." She closed her eyes and held my hand. Sometimes I looked at her face in the dark. I thought about the past. I thought about the pain. I also thought about the love. My life was not easy, but I was proud. I had come far. One day, I got a letter from Sophie's daycare. It said, "Sophie is ready for school next year." My eyes filled with tears. School! My baby was growing up. She was not a baby anymore. I told her the news. She clapped and said, "School! I want a pink bag." I smiled. "You will get a pink bag," I said. "And new shoes, too." That weekend, we went to the shop. We looked at school bags. Sophie touched each one. She said, "Too big. Too small." And then, "This one." It was pink with stars. She held it and smiled. We went home and she wore the bag in the house. She walked around the flat like a little student. I laughed. I felt happy and sad. I was proud of her. But a part of me felt scared. She was growing so fast. Time passed. Sophie turned 4. She was taller. Her hair was longer. She made friends. She said, "Mom, my friend's name is Lucy. She has a dog." I said, "That's nice." She said, "Can we get a dog?" I said, "Maybe one day." I worked more hours now. My boss gave me extra shifts. I said yes to every one. I needed more money. I wanted to save. I wanted Sophie to have more. Sometimes I felt tired, but I always said, "You can do this, Anna." One Friday, I came home late. My mom was there. She watched Sophie that evening. I walked in and took off my shoes. Sophie ran to me. She said, "Mommy, you're home." I hugged her tight. My mom smiled and said, "She missed you." I looked at my daughter and felt something deep. She was my whole world. After my mom left, I made tea. Sophie played with her doll. Then she looked at me and said, "Mom, do I have a dad?" My hand stopped. I looked at her. I sat down next to her. "Why do you ask?" I said. She said, "At school, my friend said her dad picks her up. Do I have a dad too?" I felt something in my chest. I held her hand. I said, "Yes, you have a dad." "But he does not live with us." She asked, "Why not?" I said, "He made a choice. He did not want to stay." She looked at me. Her eyes were soft. She said, "But I have you." I smiled and kissed her head. "Yes," I said, "you have me, and I will never leave." That night, I cried a little in the kitchen. I cried quietly. I did not want her to hear, but I needed to let it out. One evening, a woman from school came to talk to me. She said, "I'm Sophie's teacher. She's doing well." She is kind and curious. I smiled. The teacher said, "You're doing a good job. She is a happy girl." Her words stayed in my heart. I was doing my best. And maybe my best was enough. Sophie started school that year. She wore a new uniform. She held my hand tightly on the first day. I said, "You are brave. You will do great." She said, "Will you wait for me?" I said, "Yes. I will always wait for you." She walked into the class. She looked back and waved. I smiled and waved back. Then I walked outside and sat on a bench. I cried again. Not because I was sad, but because I was proud. Our life was still simple. I still worked long hours. I still counted every coin. But I had a little girl who smiled at me every morning. She said, "Good morning, Mom," with joy in her voice. That was more than enough. One Sunday, Sophie and I went to the park. She ran and laughed. She played with other children. I sat on the bench and watched her. A man sat next to me. He said, "Is she your daughter?" I said, "Yes." He said, "She looks happy." I smiled. I said, "She is." He said, "That's all that matters." I looked at Sophie. I thought about everything. The tears, the nights alone, the fear. Then I looked at her strong little legs, her big smile, her bright eyes. Yes, I thought, she is happy. And I did that, alone. If you liked my story, please like, comment, and share. More simple and emotional stories are coming soon.